Alright, Chapter 2, Section 4, Fire Extinguishers. 217. Portable fire extinguishers are normally used as first aid firefighting devices for the fighting of the small fires that other preventive catastrophes. These extinguishers are placed in buildings other than place where there is a fire hazard. Fire hazards are also carry them with the fire apparatus because their extinguishers agents are more effective and better suited with some conditions, particularly certain materials such as the combustible metals. The extinguishers are available in a number of the shapes and sizes and contain the different agents of the various types of fire. The different extinguisher require the different individual procedure for the inspection, operation, and application. The following are the type of extinguishers most commonly used: carbon dioxide pump type, water, pressurized water, soda, acid, foam, bromometrifluoride, methane, dry chemical, and inspection. 218. Fire extinguishers must be kept in good operation condition. They must be require periodic inspection, which makes the inspection of any type of the fire extinguisher. The following action: examine the surroundings to check the fire extinguisher is accessible and under actual firing condition, and that it is not subject to possible mechanical injury, having all obstructions removed in which they might hide the extinguisher from the view and delay of its any use. If necessary, change the fire extinguisher or add new units. See the extinguisher is located in the right place with meeting the existing fire regulation. Check the hand bracket, the support of the security right, replace the tighten or status, strengthen the hanging bracket support necessary. See that the extinguisher is easily removable. Alright, 219. Carbon dioxide extinguishers. Carbon dioxide extinguishers are used in CO2 extinguisher, illustrated in Figure 251. In this gas is 1.5 times heavier than air, non-poisonous, and will not support combustion or sustainment not support combustion or sustaining life. CO2 converts the liquid with the under pressure of the individual extinguisher or refrigerated as in a bulk storage tank. In operating a CO2 extinguisher, break the wire seal, remove the safety pin, hold the extinguisher, handle in one hand with the thumb and palm resting on the shutoff of the valve of the other. Shut off with his palm of the resting on the shutoff valve of the lever. Direct the discharge horn with the over the handle. Holding the horn with the rubber wooden handle, so squeeze the shutoff valve with the lever to operate. Direct the discharge at the base of the fire on flammable liquid. Sweep the discharge across the burning surface, starting with the front of the working on the side, front to rear. CO2 extinguishers discharge valve should be open fully and entire contents should be discharged when fighting flammable liquids and fires to give it maximum protection against flashback. Alright, shows the pulling of the pin of the discharging the carbon dioxide extinguisher, your CO2 extinguisher. The CO2 smothers the fire and cutting off the air. The cooling is negligible in firefighting. The carbon dioxide extinguisher has an effective range of 3 to 8 feet, and it must not be stored with temperatures where it exceeds 120 degrees. The internal pressure increases with the cylinder. Pressure increases from about 960 psi at 80 degrees Fahrenheit to about 1,450 psi at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The cylinder contains a ruptured disc which will rupture the pressure at between 2,400 or 2,600 psi. Hold the discharge horn about insulating rubber and wooden handle. The temperature of the discharge gas is about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The frostbite can occur on contact with the horn. The horn also builds up a charge of the static electricity, particularly with the extinguisher having a high discharge rate. The static buildup can be avoided by touching the extinguisher shell to the ground during the discharge. The carbon dioxide extinguisher will be metal horns that are not rated for the current Class C. With operating with Class 3 fire, carefully keep the extinguisher shell away from the energized electrical equipment. D. The CO2 extinguisher should be recharged with each of the use of the refill with the compressed into the cylinder, usually with a commercial supplier, up to the prescribed full weight. In monthly inspection of the following is check of the horn, the discharge of the exterior of the shell, the detax of the seal to see if it has been broken. The annual inspection of the cylinder is weighed in additional with the monthly inspection procedure. The weight has dropped more than 10% of the difference between the full and empty weight. The extinguisher must be recharged. The fully weight of the empty weight are stamped on the cylinder and shown on a label attached with the cylinder. A hydrostatic test of the cylinder must be performed every 5 years to 12 years if it has not been discharged. 220 pump type water extinguisher. Pump type water extinguishers are the most common type, and they're made with the 2.5 gallon, 40 gallon, and 5 gallon hot lid sizes. Almost all of these extinguishers are operated with a hand built into the tank. And all pump into the extinguisher are charged with water, except in the installed with the temperature requiring additional antifreeze compounds. The extinguisher vary in the size of the shape of the basically all the operate in the same way the containing of the tank of the pump and the hose with the nozzle. A 5 gallon backpack extinguisher is available for the brush and forest fire fighting. 221 pressurized water type extinguisher. The pressurized water type extinguisher are one of the new kinds of fire extinguishers. The pressurized water extinguisher are used in the Army and are 2.5 gallons size. The extinguisher consists of the tank of the discharge valve with the pickup of the tube hose, nozzle, and the pressure gauge. The nitrogen of the air pressure is 100 psi to use in the discharge of the water. To operate the pressurized water extinguisher, to pull on safety lock pin and depressing the operating handle to direct the steam at the base of the fire, moving often even so that much of the fuel is possibly covered with water. B. To perform a monthly inspection, check the wire lead to the seal of the damage of the air pressure to gauge the deviation for the correct pressure readiness rating of 100 psi. The hose, the nozzle, and the foreign objects. The semi-annual annual inspections are similar in scope of the monthly inspection. To recharge the pressurized water extinguisher, you first remove the discharge valve and then attach the pickup tube. Then fill the tank with 2.5 gallons of water and lubricate the gasket in the neck of the discharge valve. Replace the discharge valve, pick up the tube, and apply the proper air pressure to 100 psi. The fire extinguisher must be hydrostatically tested every 5 years. All right, 222. The soda acid extinguisher. The 2.5 gallon soda acid extinguisher water is an extinguishing agent with a chemical combination generates enough pressure to discharge the water. The tank contains a solution of sodium bicarbonate supported with the top of the reserve. The glass bottom contains the 4 ounces of the sulfuric acid. The brought together with the two chemical proceeds with the carbon dioxide, which expels the water. The large stopper in the mouth of the acid bottle retards the absorption of the moisture of the acid. The extinguisher is turned up to the side down. The loose stopper falls partially clear of the acid. The bottle allows the contents of the bottom bottle to mix with the soda solution. The taper of the stopper regulates the flow of the acid. It prevents the sudden high pressure of the rate of the flow, ensures the chemical reaction of all acid before the solution is discharged with the extinguisher. The soda acid extinguisher also has a hose nozzle and a threaded cap that contains the necessary gasket. To operate the 2.5 gallon soda extinguisher, grasp the nozzle, invert the extinguisher chemical reaction pressure and occur with immediately at the tilting of the causing discharge of the agent. Figure 254 shows the soda acid extinguisher, the acid bottle gauge, the acid bottle, and the threaded cap and lead stopper. The monthly inspection of the soda acid extinguisher includes the checking of the hose and nozzle, the obstruction, and removing the cap and ensuring the presence of the proper agent, recording the entry of the extinguishing tag. The annual inspection requires discharging, cleaning, and recharging of the tank. C. To recharge the soda extinguisher, remove the cap of the acid bottle, the bottle gauge, and wash all the parts thoroughly. Check to see if all the liquid is removed from the acid of the bottle before the water or the acid is added. Dissolve 1 1/2 pounds of bicarbonated soda or in 7 quarts of lukewarm water. Pour the solution into the extinguisher. Add fresh water to the level of a special marker in or wall of the extinguisher. The extinguisher will be filled with the top of the collar heads with holds 3 gallons, but it must not be charged with more than 2.5 gallons of liquid. Pour forward fluid ounces of concentrated sulfuric acid in the bottle. A plainly etched line in the bottle. Sketch at 4 ounces level. Insert the lead stopper in the acid bottle. Place it in the cage. Insert the cage bottle into the extinguisher. And be certain that the cage and the bottle and the stopper are those made a particular extinguisher. Manufacturer and necessary standards in shaping of their extinguishers. Many of the parts are not interchangeable. Next, examine the gasket and replace the gasket with the new one. If the rigid and defective is finally screw the cap down hand tight with the collar. See the TM5687 for further details. 8. The soda acid extinguisher must be hydrostatically tested every 5 years. The soda acid extinguisher has been taken out of the technical bulletin 5/40/200/210. Therefore has been discontinued. Army issue equipment. The pump is type. The water extinguisher is in taking its place. 223, the foam extinguisher. The 2.5 gallon foam extinguisher illustrated in figure 255 is a similar size apparency of the 2.5 gallon soda acid extinguisher, but it differs in internal construction, extinguisher age, and charging procedure. This type of extinguisher consists of an inner chamber with the outer chamber. The outer chamber contains a solution of sodium bicarbonate. The inner chamber contains a solution of aluminum sulfate integrated with the ingredients added to the soda solution, assisting the foaming and the stabilization of foam. The extinguisher is operated with inverting, allowing the contents of the two chambers to mix. The reaction produces the bubbles containing the carbon dioxide gases. The stabilizing ingredients strengthen the bubble structure, producing the foam. The foam is expelled from the extinguisher with the carbon dioxide gas pressure. B. To operate the extinguisher, the similar grasp of the hose, the invert with the extinguisher, the direct with the foam, the add to base with the forward part of the flame, and allow. To figure 255 shows the foam extinguisher with a thread cap, gasket, lead stopper, in the inner chamber. Allow the foam to flow over the surface of the fire area with a smothering blanket. The monthly inspection of the foam extinguisher includes the carefully examination of the nozzle of the stoppage into the contents of the extinguisher, frequently plug the nozzle, inspection of the hose intake, of the deterioration check with the proper amount of the fluid weight of the internal observation for the ensemble inspection. Performing the monthly inspection services, also check the inner chamber for the corrosion, remove the cap, replace the inner and outer chamber if required, check the inner chamber for the stopper, the freedom movement, lower look at the gasket, break through the deep of the grooves, the warm for the filler cap, replace the gasket and the cap if necessary, examine the filler with the collar for for in presence of the foreign matter. For the annual inspection includes all of the preceding lab services plus discharging, recharging all the foam extinguisher CTM 687. For details. To recharge the 2.5 gallon foam, make sure that there are two solutions in accordance with the instruction printed on the chemical container. Usually the chemical are in two containers marked A and B. The solution should be prepared separately. Containers in the absence of such instruction, dissolve the contents of package A exactly 2.25 pints of hot water, pour it into the interchange, but to dissolve the contents of the package. B. Exactly 1 3/4 gallons of lukewarm water. Pour the solution into the outer chamber. Do not use hot water contents back into the P because it deteriorates with the heat. Place the stopper interchange assembled with the extinguisher. The foam extinguisher should be hydrostatically tested every 5 years. The foam extinguisher has been discontinued by the Army issued equipment. This one is in use will be phased out of in time. 224, the bromotriol fluoromethane extinguisher. The CF3BR extinguisher, figure 256, commonly known as the Freon 1301, contains liquid compressed gas, which offers usually advantage to the safe and efficient fire extinguishing, particularly against Class B flammable liquid. Class C electrical fires. The liquid has a boiling point of negative 72 degrees Fahrenheit and freezing point of negative 270 degrees Fahrenheit. The CF3BR is not toxic in natural state, and the composition occurs by the fire. Figure 526, 256 shows the CFR3BFR extinguisher. The decomposition of fire temperature is produced with decomposition toxic. The product's injuries and exceed with the 10% of the air volume. Normally, extinguishing can be accomplished within less than 5% of the volume of the air. This should be used with the caution confined with the space of the CF3BR. Decomposes partially with the subjected heat with the flame, which causes a decrease in the toxicity level limits of the CF3BR, the non-corrosive metal and oil is considerably cleaning agent. The only FBA3R extinguisher is in inventory with a 2 3/4 pound, which has the same extinguishing ability as a 5-pound CO2 unit. Because of the low vapor, the CF3BR aim temperature extinguisher is pressurized at 400 psi with nitrogen. The pressure is sufficient to permit with the extinguisher at negative 65 degrees Fahrenheit and 54 degrees Fahrenheit without further modification. The CF3R extinguisher must be kept fully discharged at all times. Reweighing it is the only method of determining whether or not the extinguisher is fully discharged. Fully charged, the extinguisher is to be weighed semi-annually accurately. The scale to determine the leakage of the cylinder assembly, but not replaced with the loss of more than weight with the permissible instruction. Extinguisher nameplate recharging necessary for the weight is found with a 10% deficiency date of the recharging should be extensible in the cylinder. When extinguished for the type that is used with the charged cylinder, assembly should be kept on the hand, but the extinguisher be promptly recharged after use. F. The extinguisher should not be located where the ambient temperatures will exceed 150 degrees Fahrenheit. 225 dry chemical extinguisher. Dry chemical portable fire extinguisher vary from 2.5 pounds to 150 pounds. The dry chemical compound used is consistent periodically bicarbonate of soda and potassium bicarbonate or ammonia phosphate, which has been treated to make waterproof and free flowing. The extinguisher action of this agent is to smother the fire. Dry chemical extinguisher of two basic types. One type is pressurized at 150 psi with the dry nitrogen, dry air. Other type of the cartridge, CO2 under pressure under the cartridge of the second type of the punctured. CO2 pressure expels the agent. To operate the pressurized dry chemical extinguisher, break sealing wire, remove the lock pin, depress the operating handle, direct the agent, and close the base of the fire to operate the cartridge and dry chemical extinguisher. Break the sealing wire with remove the lock and the pin, depress the cartridge puncturing handle, direct the agent to the close of the base of the fire. See, when performing a monthly inspection, check out the sealing of the wire and the dry nitrogen pressure gauge with the corrective of the pressure with 160 degrees psi and the hose and nozzle for the foreign object. For semi-annual inspection, compare with monthly inspection with the one exemption of the cartridge of the non-pressurized extinguisher must be weighed during the annual inspection. If the weight of the cartridge and intents are stamped on the cylinder in 10% more pressure below prescribed weight, the cartridge should be replaced. CTM 686 for further details. The dry chemical extinguisher should be hydrostatically tested every 5 years. Alright, 226 combustible metal agents. Two extinguisher agents listed on one of the youth of Class D combustible metal fires. They're available with the drum barrels and put on fire with a scoop of the shovel to cover at least the 1/2 inch of the extinguisher agent is applied with the burning agents. For the two agents are G1, the powder. The screen is graphanized foundry coke with the various phosphates added, but includes the particle of various sizes of the additive. The packing material acts as a heating conductor with a lower temperature. The burning metal forms a coating with a smother of the fire. The excluding with the air would produce the gas and the smothering, and it may use the magnesium alloys. Metal X, the Metal X powder, the sodium chloride based with the additives given with the repellency, good flow characteristics, added fuses at the high temperature to aid the forming of the airtight coating with the material forms of the coating of the excluding of the air with the smothers of fire. It also conducts some of the heat away with the burning metal. It may be used with magnesium, sodium phosphate, potassium, sodium, potassium alloy, NaK, and sodium capacite fires. 227 dry power extinguisher of combustible metal fires. The dry power extinguisher used in a Metal X sodium chloride dry power described in preceding paragraph dispenses 80 pounds of capacity extinguisher. The amount rated D agent is effective with about 6 pounds of burning metal depending on the type of the form of the metal. Only cartridge operated with the advantage of the dry powder extinguisher operated with the removing of the hose around with the punctured mechanism, depressing the plunger with the punctures of the cartridge. The compressed the gas of the cartridge is released in the shell. The pressure is the gas pressure expelled with the dry pressure. Dry powder for the shell with the nozzle shut off at the open. The pressure is into the shell. The extinguisher is carried by its handle with one handle with the nozzle, and the shutoff valves are operated with the other. And the shutoff valve is squeezed to open, release to stop the flow of the agent. The normal operating to the opening of the nozzle partially obtain the soft flow of the agent. The burning metal is covered with at least 1/2 of the Metal X sodium chloride with glowing spots with the appear that they should be recoated with the application of the agent from the court rust over the burning metal, which excludes the air and the smothers the fire. The effective range of the extinguisher is 3 to 5 feet. The dry powder extinguisher should be recharged for each of the use. First, the gas pressure is released for the turning of the extinguisher upside down and opening the shutoff valve. This will not release the agent remaining in the extinguisher. The extinguisher is disassembled according to the manufacturer's instruction and cleaned. Figure 258 shows an exterior cutaway view of the dry powder extinguisher. With a brush, compressed air, the shell is filled with the proper amount of the dry powder and the resembling of the check of the gasket, inserting the new cartridge seal and extinguisher tag. The monthly inspection includes the checking of the nozzle, hose, the shell defects, and the seal, and to assure that it has been broken. The annual inspection requires the thorough check of the components with the weighing of the cartridge, accurate scale calibrated fractions of an ounce. The category cartridge is replaced at least at 1/2 ounce or more. The hydrostatic test must be performed on an extinguisher shell in the hose 5 years. Do not confuse the dry powder extinguisher with dry chemical type extinguisher. 228. Winterization of extinguisher. Protection for the fire extinguisher from freezing is extremely important. Should be thoroughly understood in all fire protection personnel. Carbon dioxide extinguisher must meet the operated temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Most be winterized. Winterized is essential because if the temperature falls below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, the pressure of the extinguisher also falls below 285 pounds per square inch, which is the minimum amount of pressure needed for the proper operation. The winterization of CO2 extinguisher is in addition with 200 pounds of pressure per square inch, which is done adding by nitrogen to the CO2. Local directives should be consulted with the amount of dry nitrogen to be added. With addition, dry nitrogen requires to decrease the amount of the CO2 in the cylinder. Dry nitrogen provides additional pressure for the expelling of the CO2. Low temperature, since the decreasing of the CO2 will not allow the additional for the dry nitrogen pressure rupture of the cylinder at gravity disk until temperature reaches 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The injection of the dry nitrogen also allows the extinguisher to operate the temperatures and high temperatures than permitted with the CO2 gas, as well as the temperature lower than the permitted CO2 gas. B. The prescribed chemical lowering the freezing point of the water type of extinguisher, calcium carbide chloride. The quantity of calcium chloride required to prevent the freezing will vary from 3 pounds per gallon of water to protect against the temperature of 2 degrees Fahrenheit, with a maximum 5 pounds per gallon of water to against the temperature of a 53 degree Fahrenheit. Local directives should be consulted for a specific amount of the temperature level to become winterization. Extinguishers require the use of calcium chloride solutions. Should have the interior water tank painted with 2 coats of asphalt base painted retarded corrosive action. Dry calcium chloride should not be placed directly to the appliance with winterized. The chemical should be mixed with the water in separate container to prevent caking in the bottom of the tank. At one quarter of an ounce sodium biochloride acid, each gallon of water will act as a rust inhibitor. Do not antifreeze pressure when water extinguisher with calcium chloride. Use special prepared solutions. See, since sodium acid foam extinguisher depend on chemical reaction to expel extinguisher agent, winterization chemicals are not used. The soda acid foam extinguishers are normally located only in heated structures. Pressurized dry chemical extinguishers do not require winterization. Cartridges type of the dry chemical dry chemical extinguishers are winterized, replacing the CO2 fills cartridge with one filled with dry nitrogen. Note that see technical bulletin 4200-210 for a portable fire extinguisher approved by the Army of Users. Chapter 3: Characteristic Chemistry and Physics of Fire.